Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers.
No rainbows and sunshine. We're just going to give it to you and give it to you straight.
Scott Walters, how are you, sir?
I am good. Thanks for having me on today. Thank you for everybody tuning in today. It's always my honor and privilege to be with you.
Scott, I definitely appreciate you being on the show. And you guys, what today is going to be about is I wanted Scott to come on and we're going to dig into foreclosure information and we're going to dig into new home builds. And hopefully we're going to give you guys some more insight because we believe, maybe not right now, but that is where some inventory is going to come for, and possibly we'll be able to get deals for pennies on the dollar. But before I continue, please, you guys, do us a small favor. Hit like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already. And then when you're done with that, go to my man Scott Walters Real Estate USA channel, which is this right here, and like it. And look at the famous people he has in his photo. Why am I not up here, Scott?
Dude, I know.
Ninja, I allegedly. Where's your boy? Where's your boy?
I'm sorry, Travis. You would be in there too if you were there, man. You gotta come visit me, dude. You gotta come visit me.
I want to get out to Cali, brother. So, Scott, before we begin, brother, I'm going to pull up a couple charts. We'll start with foreclosure, then we'll go into new homes. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, I'm just excited to be here. You know, like I said, I love real estate. Like I always say, 95% of all millionaires made their money in real estate. It is the path to wealth, but not by buying in the height of a super bubble. We want to buy outside the bubble for potentially pennies on the dollar. That is our goal today, is to help us understand if and when that time is coming. And we're going to look at some great data today from Travis, who's just been a ninja when it comes to dissecting the data. So I'm really excited, Travis. Let's do this.
I mean, dude, and the thing is, guys, I don't want to lose again, brother. You know what I mean? I've already lost once. Because I bought an overvalued house, recession hit, lost my job, couldn't afford the payments, boom, foreclosure, followed me around 9 to 11 years. So I was forced to the sidelines when all I had to do, Scott, wait 2 years. If I would have waited 2 years, I'd probably been a millionaire right now.
Well, Travis, I mean, here's the thing, dude. I mean, you're not alone. Millions and millions of people had to go through this in the last downturn. Only a small percentage rose from the ashes and came out the other end smelling like a rose. I had to do a short sale in the last bubble. I had other good real estate that I was able to hold on to. I know you have other real estate, investment property, income property that you do have now. So anybody that's been a success in life, not just real estate, in life, has had their shares of fails. You're not always going to win every single time. And so for me personally, I don't necessarily regret going through what I went through, because this time I have a better perspective. So I don't regret the past. My whole thing is, I don't want to do the same mistake over expecting a different result, because that's the definition of insanity. And that's why I have a heart to come help people, let them understand that this time, not only are we in another bubble, this is a super mega global sized bubble that's having its blowback, and we're seeing it now play out. So this is where it really becomes so important to stay centered and surrounded with like-minded people. So that's why I love our mission here today, Travis.
I love it, man. And I agree with you. Even though it sucked, Scott, all right, it did suck. I was jealous, dude. I saw so many people get great deals and I was like on timeout. Foreclosure, bankruptcy, repo, tax lien, right? I mean, the thing is, bro, like, it's not that I regret it. It's, because it's given me insight. Like, I can clearly see, what is the possibility right now in our housing market. So, but I'm not saying that everyone has to learn that lesson that way. I mean, it was horrible, man. It broke up my family. And, at the time I suffered emotionally, as well. But regardless, man, I'm happy to be here now,
I'm happy you're here, Travis. I'm happy. I'm super happy you're here, dude.
So I'm going to pull up, Scott, I'm going to pull up the recent Black Knight data. We're going to take a look at a chart that basically just shows the numbers of non-current payments, 90 days late, foreclosure starts. And really what I want to do is kind of compare to what's going on right now as compared to what went on in 2007, because me and you both agree that right now, it's not really time for foreclosures. You and I and other YouTubers can see the storm brewing. We can see where we're headed. but right now it's not that time. So I wanted to, I want to bring up this chart, and I put some color on it. Okay. I'm an artist, I guess, I like the color. But this chart is basically a chart going back to 2005. This has, the total 90-day lates, total non-currents, and foreclosure starts. And what I really find interesting, Scott, is, the average days delinquency for foreclosure. Now, what I noticed immediately, here's the bottom column. If we compare the foreclosure starts right now, which is 17,000, to where it was right before the Great Recession, it shows that we have way less foreclosure starts right now. Okay. So at first I was like, well, maybe we're actually in good, better shape than I thought. But also what I noticed is this: back in the Great, Recession, people were only late for about 267 days before the foreclosure. If we fast forward to today, we're at 1,200 days. People are in their house for 1,200 days before foreclosure. That's a 354% increase. And I believe the reason that is because of loan modification, right? Loan modification.
Well, loan forbearance too.
Yeah, and forbearance. So the lenders want people to stay in their houses. But what that shows to me is they're kicking the can down the curb. Okay, they're kicking the can down the road. And here's what I noticed. Here's the section which is biggest concern: over 90 days late. So 90 days plus late. 90 days plus late, we're at 593,000, which is more than pre-pandemic, which is shown here, and more than 2007.
Yeah. So I mean, the storm is brewing, Travis. It's brewing. That's what's going on. Here's the challenge for me personally, because I always boil this down. I always say it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this one out. Any level-headed realist who's temperature checking and heat mapping everything around them should be able to see what's happening. They've paused. They simply paused this, right? They, like Travis said, they kicked the can down the road. They paused it. So just as fast as this bubble was produced, an artificial bubble through market manipulation in the sense of stimulus programs, stimulus money, stimulus programs in the form of eviction bans, mortgage forbearance, they paused it. So just as fast as this bubble is created, what's it doing now? It's reversed course, inventory flooded, stuck on market, price reduction. So it's going to have this trickle down effect. Foreclosures are probably one of the biggest lagging indicators because it takes so long to get the foreclosure process from start to finish. We're at the front end of a real estate correction, the tail end of a global lockdown. This thing has the potential to just explode just as fast, Travis, that this almost faster, really. When you look at over 2 years, this bubble was created. How fast did it reverse course? Within 6 months, it reversed course faster. Like, that blew me away personally, because I was like, I used to always say, just as fast as this bubble is created, it's going to reverse course. Do not be surprised. Whew, insanity. Now, so you hit the nail on the head. What we're seeing now is the front end of the foreclosure crisis. Now, personally, I've reported my gut, and I follow my gut, just like Elon Musk has reported. His gut feeling tells him a year ago, well, we're going to be in a recession this year. It's coming. Follow a lot of the data, but also follow your common sense. You stifled inventory with extreme upward pressure. It couldn't sustain itself. Now we have runaway inflation in a risen interest rate environment. This thing is looking serious to me. Foreclosures are coming, I believe, and I'll reveal at the end of this video when I believe that we're going to be talking not about the correction anymore, about the foreclosure crisis.
And Scott, I want to show you. I'm going to show you, and and here's the thing. A lot of people say they're looking at the foreclosures, and they're saying we can't have a crash, because of the foreclosure. So I want to bring up, I'm going to bring this chart back up here. And I want to kind of just show you how quickly this escalated out of control. So if we go back to the last great crash in 2007, like I said, 90-day lates plus lates were only at 551,000. But if you look only, 4 years later, only 4 years later, it went from 500,000 to almost 3 million. And I bring that up. That's a 439% increase, Scott. And I bring that up because I tell people, constantly, just because things appear okay right now, things can spiral out of control immediately. And you're exactly right, Scott. It has never been more important than it is right now to use logic and common sense when reviewing the data, because the data is all over the place. The data is tainted. Why is it tainted? Trillions of dollars smoke screen. There's a smoke screen of trillions of dollars, bro.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
like, and I think that's why there's so many people, like the CPI report that came out this morning. So many people got that wrong. And I believe they're getting that wrong because they're paid to say otherwise. What is your feeling on why this data is all over the place like this?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, this one is really a tougher read because we paused. We put the recession on pause. We had a very micro recession at initial lockdowns, and then we
Yes.
overstimulated the economy with helicopter money. It was drugs to the drug addict. We put training wheels on our economy, and now we've had no choice but to take those training wheels off. And the result of that has been runaway inflation. So people's incomes are not keeping up with their cost of living. So they're relying on credit and other things in order to supplement their cost of living. That fuse has been lit. So eventually what we're seeing is people will no longer be able to afford their cost of living, and they're going to go into crisis mode. This is what happens. So the realities are the government has told us their number one goal is only one thing: to bring inflation back down to 2%. Historically, the only way to get inflation back down to 2% is raise interest rates, the cost to borrow money, to the rate of inflation, which is what, 8, 9%, whatever it is. We're not even halfway there. And look what it's doing to these markets. It's already delivered a potential knockout blow. So we're at minimum, even if we don't do anything else, we're at a slow motion crash. If we have one big enough interest rate hike, it'll shock these markets and it'll become a race for the exits. There's no escaping this one. We will pay the piper. The dust will settle, and there will be blowback from the crisis. It's all playing out. So, I mean, I always say the first step of getting past a problem, admit there's a problem.
Yeah.
That was a massive, massive problem.
Dude, and it is. And Scott, and here's what I'm really concerned about. When we look at 2007 versus right now, we didn't have out of control inflation. We didn't have this type of unaffordability necessarily back in 2007, 2008. We have way worse inflation, but what we do have that's good compared to 2008. We have, better loan modification programs, right? And we have more government intervention, which I think that actually can make the problem worse because of people abusing, the money that is meant for good people that are struggling. So, on one hand, man, I think the unaffordability is a bigger problem today than it was back in 2007, 2008. But
I always say, I got to jump in because I always say, Travis, you see, we could have gotten away with a lot of the stimulus programs. But the one program, the one thing that they should have never manipulated was the U.S. housing market. The U.S. housing market is the biggest asset class in the world. If we lose the U.S. housing market, we lose everything. When they lowered interest rates and made realtors essential in a health crisis, and then stifled inventory by reducing movement of people, and then lowering those interest rates, the upward pressure, had they stopped it initially and said, whoa, this one's getting away from us, maybe we could have survived it. But they kicked the can too far down the road, and now we're dealing with that. It becomes, for me personally, Travis, a percentage of likelihood. What's the percentage of likelihood you put on this bubble being able to sustain itself? Now, Travis, the government could step in. This has been a weird time to live in, and throw some other safety net to try to keep the reins on this one. But the reality is it would just be another delay effort that would be kicking the can down the road, and it would just make a bigger blowback. This thing has to play out. The dust has to settle, because the longer we delay it, the worse the blowback will be. We need to get the reins on this yesterday, my friend, not today or tomorrow.
Let me ask you this, Scott. So, and I've asked this question to Orlando as well. Orlando Minor, you guys should do a collaboration together. And I'm worried that we're not going to have the same time frame as buying opportunity than we had our last collapse. The reason I think that is investors, institutional investors. Blackstone just got 50 billion. Orlando seems to think that we're not going to have the same amount of opportunity to purchase because of government intervention, which I didn't even think of that. That was a good one. What do you think, Scott? Do you think that we're going to have the same time to buy and find opportunities as we did last time, which was 2 to 4 years?
Well, that's anybody's guess, and Orlando
Yeah.
could be completely right.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: nobody has a crystal ball. A
No.
lot of top economists are predicting that this will be a depressionary level of a downturn. In the last great financial crisis, the Great Recession of '08,
Yeah.
that was a recessionary level,
Yeah.
a mid-level recession. Top economists are predicting this time it could be depressionary level. In fact, it becomes percentage of likelihood. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I hate to say it because I benefit from this euphoria remaining around in the real estate industry. I made a lot of money during the bubble,
Yeah.
even as somebody ringing
Yeah.
the bell and sounding the alarm, putting people on the sidelines and saying, I'll put your needs before my own and earn your business later. And anybody watching today, that's the words you want to hear come out of an agent's mouth. Your needs before theirs. They will earn your business later if you want to wait, right? You don't want people FOMOing you into the biggest real estate bubble ever produced. So the realities are, friends, with the institutional money, the Wall Streets, the Zillows, the iBuyers, we've all seen them take massive hits. And everybody's got this idea, oh, well, there's all these billionaire funds out there. They're going to scoop it up. And no, there's going to be too many for them to handle. We're already seeing them race for the exits in a big way. So the realities are properties for pennies on the dollar most likely are coming. It might not be in every neighborhood in America, but there will be some. I almost guarantee it with a high level of certainty. If you want pennies on the dollar properties, it might be in downtown Detroit in a war zone and look like the apocalypse. But it might not. That's why this channel and your channel will be so important as we heat map and temperature check, because we have to let the dust settle from the crisis. It hasn't even settled. We're just getting started.
I know. I tell people that's like, okay, good. The prices are down, but I still have no idea the direction of the housing market. There's too much BS and people saying, different things. It makes it difficult. Let me ask a follow-up question. Do you think, Scott, that the metro areas with the highest, generally with the highest investor purchases are the greatest at risk of devaluation?
Well, it would appear so, because here's the thing. This is what I tend to come back to. So let's say you're an investor, right? Let's say you own a bunch of homes, neighborhoods, right? And we're right. There's new construction, people stuck in production about to deliver their homes in the worst possible environment, paying more to construct those homes than ever recorded in history as well. They have their margin levels are extremely small. They're upside down now. They can no longer sell those homes that are going to be delivered into this cooled off market for what they paid for it. So they're very unemotional when it comes to selling homes. They've got investors behind them. They got to get these homes gone. Doesn't matter. They don't care if it had recessed lighting and granite countertops. Like when I sell your home, hey, Scott, I got recess and upgrades. They don't care. It's time to offload these homes. And that they drank the Kool-Aid. The investors drank the Kool-Aid in this bubble. Greed took over
100%.
and they overbuilt and they over-leveraged. And they're very exposed. So we're already seeing the hardest hit areas that drank that real estate Kool-Aid. Vegas, Phoenix, Miami. They're all in a free fall. And those investors, they have to get these homes off the market quick. They don't have time to play and chase the market. They're going to start auctioning these things off. So yes, Travis, my answer is yes. There's going to be some serious pain for investors, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's my feedback on that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you hit the nail on the head, dude. I see it. You almost hit like every metro area I was going to say. So no fair, but I'm going to add Boise, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. Austin is all messed up right now, Scott. So we had a double whammy in Austin. Not only do we have like the high investor demand, high migration. Same thing with Boise. That's, Boise's only got 4,000 houses up for sale. That's the problem. Boise is such a small local market that any migration into that area, massive overvaluation. So I'm not, Scott, I may buy and invest out of Texas, But then again, I'm like, why would I? When Texas is, look at all the opportunity in Texas, man. We're, most amount of building, as well as, we have high investor demand here, high migration, biggest top state of building. I don't think I'm confident Texas is not going to make it out of this crash like they did in 08. They made it out fairly untouched in 08. That's changed this time around. Texas is massively overvalued. Look no further than Austin, right? So Scott, I appreciate you. We're going to start getting foreclosures probably 2023, 2024, 2025. That's going to be an ongoing thing in my opinion. Let's now talk about the deals that we're going to get from new builds, right? New construction. I'm telling people, yes, most people that refinance into the 2, 3, 4% rates, they can hold. Most people, although divorce, relocation, medical
Layoffs.
emergency, yes, right? But fine, right? But you want to know someone that can't hold? New builders. New builders generally have poor financing. So I want to bring up a chart, man. And I found this really, really astonishing. Essentially, it's telling us that we have more inventory now than we did before the great financial collapse. So here we go. We are sitting at 10.9 months of inventory. And that's the most it's been since 2009, roughly. And before we went into the great financial crisis, right, whatever you want to label it, we had 9.6 months. So we have more inventory with new builds, which new builders are the greatest at risk. They also were rug pulled. We have more inventory than we did December. New builds is a buyer's market. Can you talk into this mass? Look at the surge, Scott. Look at the surge, bro.
Insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
Here's my feedback. Eerily similar.
Yes.
This thing is like, I remember people always saying, yeah, Scott, but this time is different. This time is different. You're right. It is different. This time is worse. My gosh, but it is eerily similar. There's a saying, history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it always rhymes. I'm looking at something rhyming right there, Travis. And like you said, with the amount, this is the insane part. We're catching up to inventory levels that represented the last crash, but that it gets better or worse depending on how you're looking at it. The inventory, even when it was stifled and reduced, had already started to outpace what you asked, demand. Demand is in the tank. But here it gets better or worse, depending on how you're looking at it. Let's say you did lock in a low interest rate. Great. But these new builders, they're sitting vacant. They need these things gone. You can't have vacant units. Are you kidding me? And nobody's buying. And guess what it's doing next? It's trickling down into the rental market. I'm seeing rentals offering those free months rent, move-in special incentives. Massive stuff.
Yes.
The rental market will follow the sales market. So this thing is showing a lot. I mean, it's now become so painfully clear. I always say, when I first started reporting, hey, everybody might want to be careful. This is an artificially created housing bubble. And so now I think, and at that time was complete euphoria. Oh, you're crazy. This isn't a bubble. This time is different. It's now undeniable. I think we're past the fact if this was a bubble or not. Now it's just like, what's the percentage of likelihood it's going to crash? And if it does, how fast and how deep will it reach?
That's the question now that, everyone's, when is it going to hit the low? How long is it going to last? And that's, quite frankly, that's impossible to answer because it's not just fundamentals. It's, it's all that political, it's all the money, it's all the greed, it's all the passing the buck, kicking the, can down. But Scott, let me push you against the wall into the corner a little bit here. Don't bite me like the bulldog you can be. But, let's tell the viewers, looking at the foreclosures, and then we'll look at the new builds, the best of your ability, brother. You don't have a crystal ball. When can you see the foreclosures coming to the market so much so that we do start getting those pennies for the dollars? When do you see that happening? Also understanding most houses, according to the chart, 1,200 days, bro. Now that's a result of the lockdowns, right?
Yeah.
Because before the lockdowns, it was 800 and some days. So that went up over a year after lockdowns. So they passed the buck for the whole. So tell me, man, based on your best ability, when do you think it will be the best time, the absolute best time to buy foreclosures?
Well, I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? And so, like you said, nobody has a crystal ball, but this is one now where we're going to reach into the future and do a little forecasting. And so everybody might have a slightly different opinion on this one,
Yes.
especially if you're biased. You know, you need this market to continue. So there's going to be also a lot of people that need to cheerlead this one, and tell you it's safe and there's no crash, and maybe they're right. It just becomes now a percentage of likelihood. So for me, bells were going off initially when this thing all exploded that this was a bubble and we're going to have some blowback. And now we're seeing the blowback, in fact, go up. So, you know, in terms for me personally, where I believe this thing plays out and we get to the foreclosures now starting to manifest. And the challenge with this one currently, with this bubble versus last bubbles, contagion will be a much more ever-present component in this one, because we're also much more digitally connected in this bubble than we were in the last time. Good news travels pretty fast. Bad news will travel even faster. So the realities is that unless some left field event, some black swan event, some kind of something comes out of left field and this really shocks this market, if we just kind of keep going in the direction that we're currently headed based on the numbers you've shared with us today, I believe by the end of this year, 2023, winter, Christmas time, we're probably going to start seeing those layoffs come, the jobs number suffer, possibly an official recession be announced. But there'll still be a lot of residual effect from the amount of money dumped into the economy that will hold people up for a little longer. I think by this time next year, maybe the summer of 2023, we're no longer able to hold it up anymore, and the foreclosures start to come in, and then mainstream media will run with it. Why? Because if it bleeds, it leads. They just report on things handed down from newsrooms because they're competing for views just like everybody else. And so that's going to possibly ignite it even further, and people will stop spending money because the buzzword of the day will be recession. And even if you have money, you're going to recess because it'll be herd mentality, similar how we saw the FOMO take off in this bubble was herd mentality. Well, the reverse FOMO could ignite as well. Like I always talk about, it comes down to the psychology of sales, the psychology of people. And as a trained salesman, it's been my job to study people. And so I believe, Travis, to be, you know, this is my forecast, is barring a left field black swan event, by this time next year, there's no way we can put off the foreclosure crisis. It's going to start to come. I believe by the end of this year, we could be talking about it, but I believe by this time next year, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would say by this time next year, we're in the throes of an actual foreclosure crisis. And then you're going to want a good agent to go out there and write your offers to the banks on these properties for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, Scott. You know, I agree with you. We've talked a little bit about this. I think it's going to be out of control in 2023, but I feel like it's going to be the most out of control probably fall of 2024. And what I'm anticipating, Scott, is I think they're going to use that for elections. I think foreclosures is going to be a big part of elect me for the next president. So I think it's going to get compoundingly worse. I think that it's possible the absolute worst is in 2025. But I'm going to bet, you know, if I was a betting man, which sometimes I am because I play the stock market, and oh my God, did you see the stock market today? Jeez, dude. Not all my money, only a little bit, but enough to where it hurt me. But anyways, I think right before elections, it's going to be fever pitch foreclosure problem. I think that the candidates are going to talk about how they're going to save foreclosures. So I think that we're going to get pennies for the dollar, most predominantly fall 2024. I believe there's still going to be deals to be gotten. And again, we don't want these types of deals, but just for the sake of this topic, I absolutely think it's going to start in 2023. In fact, I have no doubt, because even though some people are in their house for 1,200 days, some people are just going to pack and leave. That's what I did. I could have, when I had a foreclosure in 2008, 2009, I could have stayed in my house another 2 years, but I packed up, dude. I gave up and I left. And I moved.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, this is going to be way more politically driven, right? And so they're already withholding a lot of information from us and not allowing mainstream media to report on a lot of things because of the political motivation that's also there. So like I said, there might be some continued safety nets thrown at this one, whether it's politically, economically driven or not, that could in fact, continue to let the bubble just, brew.
Yeah, which would be
But
bad.
and you're right. If you go off like maybe statistical data utilizing the Great Recession of '08, you would probably say, hey, we're 2-3 years out from this one really hitting its bottom. And that's why, like I said, this bubble was grown much bigger in a much
Yeah,
different way. It's
yeah,
much more
yeah.
dangerous than the last one. So I anticipate it to react a little quicker. And I think there's a certain things that I don't care what the government does. I don't think they can really save this one because they've already spent their way in such a massive hole. There's really nothing left they can do.
Isn't it crazy if you stop to think about what happened here? 2021 was a fraud year, in my opinion. 2021, it was 100% fraud. The government knew. I think that they knew they should not keep printing money. I mean, how could you not know that, Scott? But anyways, I don't want to rant for another 10 minutes because me and you, I mean, we could talk for 5 hours on this. But let me ask you this next question. Talking about new builds, okay? And I have my own answer here. That's why I love iron sharpens iron. You have good angles. When can you see these new home builders really fire selling their houses? Because I'm sure we can both agree that it will happen much sooner than a foreclosure price.
It's already starting for me personally. I'm already seeing, we saw Zillow get way in front of this one, sold it not one by one, the whole thing off at a loss, took their lumps. Now we're seeing Lennar and a lot of these other big builders trying everything they can, offering buyer incentives, upgrades, whatever they can. At some point, they're doing the same thing. They had a bunch of phases of construction scheduled to take place on these housing tracts that you're seeing. They've suspended that. They're just trying to finish whatever they're committed to and under construction on currently. This thing is already starting. Now, I don't know. I'm going to sit back, get my popcorn, and watch this one play out. Because nobody can say with any level of certainty, guarantee anything. And so anybody watching today, first of all, thank you for continuing to support these channels. It's been our honor and privilege to come give our feedback as a boots on the ground real estate professional down in the trenches, lived through this insanity just like you did, and being a voice of reason, not pushing FOMO, but being a voice of reason, to let people know that this is in fact a real estate bubble. It's going to have its blowback. Even as somebody who benefits from this continuing, it's been our civic duty to do that because we suffered the last effects of the last bubble. So our heart now is to help people before our pocketbook. This is the realities. You're not going to find that out of very many people out there. So congratulations to anybody that's continued to watch Travis, the Real Estate Mindset, or Scott Walters, Real Estate, whatever the case may be. That's our job. And the reality is this, Travis, I mean, I think the new builders have already started this now. We got to watch it play out and report on it as it plays out. That's all I can say, my friend.
I know it's bad. So I'm gonna throw a date out there. Let me pull up my crystal ball real quick. It's right here, right? I know I shouldn't do that. All right, I get it. But I get pushed against the corner all the time, Scott. People are like, Travis, you got to tell me the exact date in this exact metro area. And I'm like, okay, let me just figure. It's so. I get people need to do their own work, right? You got to do your own work. Local markets vary so significantly, but I see the best opportunity for pennies on the dollar from new builds. I see that fall, winter 2023. I think the deals are already starting to happen, but I think they're going to be in the worst shape next year, fall and winter. I plan on purchasing before then because I'm not trying to time the market. And I'm trying to buy an owner-occupied house, my primary residence, and I don't want to waste money in rent. So I am going to try to buy 2023 February, so early winter. But I think
things can change, right?
Yeah. Oh, and if they change, then I won't buy. You know, because this is a big deal. But I mean, they're in bad shape, Scott. I mean,
well, yeah, dude. If I could pick up a brand new home in Texas in the twos. Yeah. I mean, even let's say I bought for $200,000, and let's say I caught a falling knife and it comes down to $150,000.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I can live with that. It's not like I bought a $10 million house.
Yeah.
And it comes down to $5 million or whatever million. I don't want to catch that falling knife. But at that price, it depends on the price point with what you're shopping. Yes. So, we'll continue to monitor your local market as you want. I personally, I will go scoop up some property too. I'm not quite sure when or where yet, but I'll keep my subscribers posted. I always say I'm willing to live in a shoebox temporarily to go buy investment property. So I'm more geared towards that. But at this stage of my life, I might go buy if I see opportunity to present itself for some awesome dream
Yeah.
house and ride off into the sunset. I might do that. So for right now, I'm just continuing to monitor this bubble, see how it's behaving, report on it, try to help people, and everything else is secondary at the moment. But we'll see. Like you said, things are subject to change almost on a daily basis at this point.
Yeah. But the beautiful thing, Scott, is you're prepared, right? You're ready to strike when you feel it's time. I'm worried that, like what happened to me in 08, that people are just going to let this play out right in front of them. They're not going to change their conclusions, their opinions, and they're just going to get blown away in the wind, man. And we don't want it. We don't want that. But Scott, we've been talking for 36 minutes, dude. I'm going to let you go. I know you're busy, but and again, Scott, brother, thank you for taking your time to talk to the viewers, for coming on my channel. Before we go, do you have anything you want to end on?
I just want to say thank you so very much. It's always been an honor and a privilege to help anybody in any way we can. We're not perfect. We're just doing our best to bring a little bit of experience with what we're seeing going on out here. We'll always do our best to be as transparent, give it to you straight as humanly possible. And that is ultimately, at the end of the day, Travis, I know a lot about you personally. You have a heart for people. It translates through the camera to the audience, and we can see through a lot of BS where people are just trying to sell something. We're not trying to sell anything here. We're just trying to help people, because our rewards in life will always be in direct proportion to our contribution.
I cannot express what you just said any better than you just said it, man. Life is not about money. I tell people this all the time. What are you going to do with the money? When you got $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, how much could you spend, Scott? I mean, these people that are greedy, I don't get it. Just stop, you guys, and enjoy life. Whatever, man. But either way, Scott, brother, hey, again, dude, sit tight with me. I'm going to do the outro, but I definitely appreciate you, brother. We're going to have to do this again, all right?
You got it. Thank you so much.
All right, bro, sit tight. All right, guys, do me a favor. Scott did not have to take his time to come on our channel. Show that man some love. Go over to his channel, subscribe to it, comment on his videos. Other than that, if you're out there investing in real estate, I do wish you luck, and I hope you win.